In the first day of Crimefest 2017, there were some new things that were added to Payday. 4 masks, a story mode, a difficulty filter, and a few bug fixes and quality of life changes. But first, let's talk about story mode. Well, it actually sounds kind of interesting. What did they add with it? What is new with story mode? And the answer to that is absolutely nothing. Literally nothing about it changes anything that's already in the game. So, let me just give a quick rundown of what story mode does. You can choose it in the mission select screen, and it'll start you off in a sequence of missions that is deemed the correct chronological order of the story that takes place in the game. So you'll start off with the tutorial, the basics, then you'll move on to some Bane contracts, and so on. It starts you off on normal difficulty, but if you choose to, you can play the contract on any difficulty as long as it's higher than what is required, so say it has to be hard or higher. As you complete missions, you'll get small rewards, mostly Continental coins alongside the usual EXP and money, and you'll progressively do harder missions that will follow the quote-unquote story. But so far, I've played it for, 6 hours now, and there's nothing special about it. All this mode does is put all the missions in chronological order. The flavor text is the same as the mission description, just reworded, and the missions you do are the exact same, no different. Even then, this game doesn't really have a meaningful story to be had. The only real events that take place is Hoxton's breakout and then the Hector betrayal, both which relate to each other, and every other contractor or mission in the game really has no relevant ties to, any other contractor or mission. In fact, I can go over the game story right now in 20 seconds. So, you start the game, you meet Bane again after a vacation or something, then you do missions for him. Then you do missions for Vlad, because he noticed that you were doing stuff. Then you do missions for Hector. Then the elephant. Then you do some for the dentist, which eventually leads to breaking out Hoxton, which then leads to finding about Hector's betrayal and then killing him. Then you do missions for all the other contractors. That's it. And that's all there is to story mode too. It literally just takes you through each and every contractor, and you do some missions for them. In fact, most of the missions for each one of them. If nothing else, the story mode really feels more like an extended tutorial more than anything else, since the first few missions of the story mode were to do the actual tutorial, and then after that, you had to do stuff like equip a perk deck and reach level 25. So obviously, this feature wasn't intended for people like me who've played the game a whole lot, and that's fine. It's meant for new players who've only just got the game. It's on a free weekend right now. It just had the free whatever thing it had a while ago. It's still disappointing that it's literally no different than the usual game, but whatever. So let's take a look at the rest of the update first. So I mentioned that they added a difficulty filter. Now, when you look at missions in CrimeNet, you can actually filter it so that you only see missions of one particular difficulty, even ones that you can host. Whereas before, you can only find public hosted lobbies of that difficulty, not ones that you can host yourself. This is by far one of the best additions of the game, but at the same time, it's one of the most frustrating. In fact, the combination of everything from the first day of Crimefest, hell, even the last few months from this game, is just frustrating. Now, obviously, the stuff they added is meant to cater to new players, what with the quality of life changes and the story mode. But what about us longtime players? Hell, even a new player may not want any of this, It's not like anyone really plays the game for story. People just want to play the missions that give the most EXP or money. Back when the game was new, everyone played Ukrainian Job with C4. Then it was to get the stealth bonus from Diamond Store, then do Rats or Firestarter for a massive boost in EXP. And then it was Hoxton Breakout. I mean, if they really wanted to add this, why not add it earlier? The difficulty filter, the story mode. One of the most annoying things in the past was waiting on the mission screen to find a mission of the right difficulty to play on. Because you want to host, you don't always want to play with pub lobbies, right? So I'd be okay playing any mission that was on Overkill or Death Wish or something, but I had to sit there and suck my thumb and wait for something to show up on that difficulty. I would see normal, hard, very hard, anything in between. Now, you could spend money to buy the contract, but, personally, I had money spewing from my ass, so it wasn't an issue, but it's more the principle of the matter than anything else. You know, the entire update is stuff that should have been in the game years ago. Not 4 years after it's been out, it should have been out, like, previously. You know, how nice would it have been to have this difficulty filter? I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a difficult thing to implement. It just seemed like, at the time, it was a balance thing where they didn't want us to always play the same difficulty, and it was intentional for it to be random or something, but now that they added it, that doesn't even matter anymore. And then stuff like having the story mode would have been nice for new players before, so what makes it different from then and now? I don't know, the fact that it's only released now, after the game has gone free for so many people, really shows the shift in the focus that Overkill is going for. And it doesn't really seem to bode well for players like us, you know, the long-time players. Not just from Crimefest, but the recent months too, you know, I mentioned that earlier. Ever since they announced that there would be no more paid DLC, there's really just not been much content at all, you know, in general. There's a few things here and there, but most of the time, it's just bug fixes and trying to change stuff that people have been asking for forever to be changed, like desync and adding reload animations. You know, it's nice, yes, it's appreciated, but I mean, do we really need it? This game has always been a buggy mess, but we loved it for what it was. Now they're slowly trying to fix these things little by little, but I feel like they're putting their effort into things that don't really matter. And with this last update, that doesn't add anything of significance, it's really starting to feel like the game just isn't a huge focus anymore. It's not a huge focus keeping us here, it's just for new players or something. I don't know, I feel like instead of trying to drag out the promised support for the game for more time, I'd rather they just focus it elsewhere, you know? Maybe other titles or the next iteration of the game. Hell, I'd even be happy if they just tried to focus on the game's performance, you know? That seems to worsen after each and every update. I don't know, the whole thing's a mess, and I'd probably jumping the gun since it's only been one day since Crimefest has been out. Maybe the other days will make up for it. I'm just kinda sitting here talking about this because usually they try to start off with a bang, so getting this update was rather disappointing. And for me personally, I brought my hopes up slightly at the mention of a story mode because I thought it would be something maybe worthwhile to play and it might bring me back to the game again, but after seeing it was nothing more than just a list of the same missions that we already have, I was fairly let down. Of course, my concerns here might have to do with other issues than the game itself, but, you know, it is what it is.